Hello everyone, it's that teacher here, and today's lesson is going to be on adding fractions with unlike denominators. Let's start learning. Welcome back to our channel everyone, thank you for tuning in to today's lesson. Now learning to add fractions with unlike denominators can sometimes be quite a difficult concept for students to understand. However, we are going to guide you through each and every step in that process in order for you to understand exactly how to add fractions with unlike denominators. So our first fraction here is going to be 1/4 plus 1/2. Now, what we need to do is ensure that our denominators are the same. We need to find the lowest common multiple of the denominator. So the lowest common multiple, which means we need to find a way to make both our denominators exactly the same. So as you can see, let's start with the 2. Now the 2 can be multiplied so that it equals 4. So we do not have to change anything with the 4. Let's start with the 1/2. Now, you need to think, what do I need to do in order to make the 2 a 4? So what do we need to multiply 2 by to equal 4? That answer is going to be 2. Now, the golden rule with fractions is whatever you do to the denominator, which is the bottom number in our fraction, you need to do exactly the same thing with the numerator. So, you need to times 1 by 2 and you need to times 2 by 2. So once we do that, we rewrite the question so that it's simpler for us to understand. So the 2 times 2 becomes 4 and the 1 times 2 becomes 2. Now we have the exact same denominators for our fractions. So we can go ahead and simply add the numerators to solve our new fraction. So remember, when we add fractions, we do not add the denominators, they stay exactly the same. We only add the numerators, so your fraction here is going to be 3/4 or 3/4. I'm going to show you a few more examples so that we can consolidate that learning and understanding so that you will be able to absolutely thrive when you're learning to add fractions with unlike denominators. So you can see here we have 1/9 plus 1/3. So let's work with the smaller number and see if we can make it equal the 9 or the larger number. So if you know your times tables, which I'm sure you do now, you know that 9 is a multiple of 3. So we need to think to ourselves, what do we multiply 3 by to equal 9? 3, 6, 9. So we multiply 3 by 3 to equal 9. Now remember what I said before? The golden rule when you're solving and working with fractions is whatever you do to the denominator, you must do exactly the same thing to the numerator. So it's also important, one little step I'm going to mention. If you're working in a book, there's no harm in showing all of this working out. In fact, if you leave your working out on the paper, you have more chance to see exactly how you got that answer so that if you make any simple mistakes, you can backtrack and see where you've gone wrong. So let's solve our multiplication questions here. 3 times 3 equals 9 and 1 times 3 equals 3. So our new fraction here is 3/9. So what we need to do now, we do not add the denominators. We only add the numerators. So we need to add 1 plus 3, that is going to give you 4. And our answer here to our question is 4/9. The next example here is 2/8 plus 2/4. Remember, let's start with the smallest number and see if it has anything in common with the larger denominator. So we know that 8 is a multiple of 4. So we need to think, what do we multiply 4 by to equal 8? 4, 8. That answer is going to be 2. Now remember, I'm going to say it again and again. Whatever you do to the denominator, you have to do exactly the same thing to the numerator. So we have 2 times 2 and 4 times 4. Now remember, work this out and rewrite the fraction so that you have a new fraction. So 4 times 2 is going to be 8 and 2 times 2 is going to be 4 for our new fraction, 4/8. So now we do not add the denominators, they stay exactly the same. And the only thing we add here is the numerators. Your fraction here is going to be 6/8. Now, in some classrooms across the world, if you wrote this fraction, you would actually be incorrect, or your teacher might only give you half of the marks. And the reason is, when it comes to mathematics, it is more important to fully simplify your fraction, okay? So even though you got the correct answer here, which is 6/8, your fraction can be simplified. And I tell my students in class all the time, if you can simplify your fraction, always simplify it. Even if you think, oh, I'm just gonna leave it there, no, always simplify your fraction and you can't go wrong, okay? So the way we do that is, we need to find a number that can be divided into both our numerator and denominator. So let's try 3. We can divide 6 by 3, which would be 2, but we cannot divide 8 by 3. So we need to find what is the highest number that can be divided by into both numbers. So we know that that is actually going to be 2, because the number 2 can be divided into 8 and the number 2 can be evenly divided into 6. So that is going to be the number. Now, 8 times 2 is going to be 4, and 6 divided by 2 is going to be 3. So your fully simplified fraction here is going to be 3/4. Now, don't worry if it doesn't look like you have the same denominators. Your teacher is going to know that you have fully simplified this fraction so that it is actually the correct answer, okay? Now, these are questions for you to do at home. I'm going to go through the answers with you. Now, I'm not going to show you all of the working out, but I'm going to show you what you need to change your fractions into in order to get your answers. So, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm going to keep working through all the mathematical concepts and lessons that I know so that we can cover absolutely everything on this channel. So thank you. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Now, your answers here goes as follows. We're going to go through each answer together. So, as you can see, the 2/3 changes into 4/6. Once we add that, your answer for the first question is 5/6. In question 2, the 2/4 changes into 4/8 because you multiply it by 2. Once you add the numerators, your answer here is 5/8. Now, in the bottom left, we have 1/3 plus 3/9. We change the 1/3 into 3/9 plus 3/9 equals 6/9. However, this is not the simplified version of the fraction. 6/9 can be simplified further by finding the highest common factor here, which is 3. So what is the largest number that can be divided into both numbers? That's going to be 3. So when we divide the 6 by 3, we get 2, and the 9 by 3 giving us 3. Our fraction here is 2/3. Finally, we have 1/10 plus 1/5. We need to times the 1/5 by 2, both the denominator and the numerator by 2, giving us our new fraction, 2/10. 1 plus 2 is 3/10 because we do not change the denominators, and that is going to be your answers. So I know that if you followed the lesson, our simple tips and tricks and procedures in order to answer these questions, you would have had no problem answering the questions I've given you. Thank you so much for watching today's lesson on adding fractions with unlike denominators. It's that teacher. We'll see you in the next lesson.